I, the Lord, revealed to my servant, the prophet Daniel, who lived in the 6th century BC, the course of future world history. In Daniel chapter 9 verses 24 to 26 it says, 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand, that from the going forth of the command, to restore and build Jerusalem, until Messiah the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks, the street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublesome times. And after the 62 weeks, the Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself, and the people of the Prince who is to come, shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. Let me explain how the book of Daniel provides conclusive proof that I, Jesus Christ, am the foreseen Messiah, that came to pay for the sins of the whole world, including yours. The translation, 70 weeks right at the beginning, is not totally accurate. The Hebrew 4 weeks is Shavuot. However, the word that appears in the Hebrew text of Daniel is Shavlim, which means sevens. Insofar as the coming of my kingdom is concerned, Daniel did not mean 70 years, but 77s of years, a total of 490 years, 70 times 7, in order for my kingdom to come. The kingdom referenced here has yet to come in the future. The next sentence, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, means I, the Lord, intended to make reconciliation with God, the Father for the iniquity of all men. The Hebrew word translated, to make reconciliation, is kafar, literally means, to make atonement. To bring in everlasting righteousness means to make righteous those that believe in me, the Messiah, as their Lord and Savior. To seal up means to cause a cessation or to completely fulfill. Thus, this vision and prophecy are to be completely fulfilled. The first temple constructed by Solomon had been destroyed in 586 BC by Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, when he conquered Jerusalem. To anoint the most holy place is a reference to the Jewish temple which was to be fully rebuilt when I, the Messiah, were to come. The prophecy of 70 weeks contains 3 prophecies. From the going forth of the command, to restore and build Jerusalem, until Messiah the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The sum of the 7 weeks and 62 weeks is 69 weeks, to which the first prophecy refers. The last 2 prophecies are about the tribulation and the end of the world. I will focus here only on the first prophecy. During the first time period, 49 years, Jerusalem would be built again, with street and moat, even in troublous times. The second block of time, 62 sevens, a total of 434 years, immediately followed the first for a total of 69 sevens, or 483 years. At the end of the prophecy, after the 483 years, I, the Messiah, would be here on earth, and cut off, which relates to my crucifixion, and afterwards, the city and sanctuary of Jerusalem would be destroyed, which occurred 70 AD. The beginning of the prophecy started with the command, to restore and build Jerusalem. Detecting which decree the prophecy is talking about has been challenging, since 4 Persian decrees have been identified as potentially meeting the requirements of this terminus a quo. The initial decree to rebuild the temple, and by implication, the city, was under Cyrus in 537 BC. This decree was renewed under Darius I in 520 BC. The temple was finally completed in 516 BC, but the city remained largely in ruins. Ezra sought to rebuild the city, and was apparently given approval in 457 BC. Nehemiah asked permission to go because he had heard that the wall of Jerusalem is broken down, and its gates are destroyed by fire. Nehemiah specifically asked permission to go to Judah, to the city of my father's graves, that I may rebuild it. This is the first and only royal decree granting permission to restore and build Jerusalem. Because Nehemiah notes that the decree was issued in the 20th year of Artaxerxes the king, and Artaxerxes officially began his reign in 465 BC, the 20th year of reign would be 445 BC. However, this conclusion fails to incorporate the standard practice during the time of Nehemiah, which distinguished between a king's year of accession and his official first year of reign. During the 5th century BC, the Persians used the accession year system, calling the interval between the accession of a king and the next New Year's Day, accession year. The Egyptians called the interval between the king's accession and the next Egyptian New Year's Day, year 1. Therefore the Egyptians began any regnal year of a Persian king several months earlier than the Persians themselves did. Hence, the time between a king's accession and the end of that same year was considered his accession year because it could not be classified as a full year of reign. Therefore, the first full calendar year would be considered the king's first year of reign. Nehemiah reached Jerusalem in 444 BC during the 20th year of Artaxerxes I. It was not until Nehemiah arrived that the city was actually rebuilt. Nehemiah was issued permission to rebuild the city by Artaxerxes I in 444 BC. Nehemiah 2 verse 1 refers to Nisan as the date of the decree to rebuild and restore the city of Jerusalem. The start date of Nisan 1, 444 BC started on February 27, 444 BC. To add Daniel's 69 weeks of years to Nisan of 444 BC, the biblical years must first be converted into Julian years. Daniel lived millennia before the use of the Gregorian calendar and centuries before the Julian calendar. Incorporating biblical years of 360 days instead of Gregorian years results in the definition of 69 weeks of years being shorter by 2,536.9 days, or approximately 7 Gregorian years. Genesis and Revelation both incorporate 360-day years. 483 biblical years are 173,880 days, 483 multiplied by 360. Converting these days into Julian years results in 476 Julian years and 21 days, 173,880 divided by 365.25. Since the length of the prophecy is 476 years and approximately 24.7 days, we will add 476 years to 444 BC and obtain February 27, AD 33, in the Gregorian calendar. Remember that there is only 1 year between 1 BC and AD 1. Next we add 24.7 days and arrive at March 24, AD 33 in the Gregorian calendar, or Nisan 6 in the Jewish year of 3793. Note the month of February in AD 33 has only 28 days. The date of Nisan 6, 3793, corresponds to the Thursday before my betrayal by Judas. Nisan 6 began on Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. since the Jewish day started at 6 p.m. So, Nisan 6 occurs during the morning and afternoon of March 24, and Nisan 7 begins at 6 p.m. Nisan 6 corresponds to the day the chief priest and Pharisees finally gave orders to report me to them so that they could murder me. The chief priests and the Pharisees had given orders that if anyone knew where I was, he was to report it, so that they might seize me. I arrived in Jerusalem on Friday, Nisan 8. I arrived at the home of Mary, Martha and Lazarus 6 days before the triumphal entry, on Saturday, Nisan 8. Sunday, Nisan 9, March 27 was my triumphal entry to Jerusalem. The Last Supper in the upper room was on Thursday evening, Nisan 14. I was also betrayed that evening, Nisan 14. Then on Friday afternoon, Nisan 14, I, Jesus, the Messiah, the Prince, was crucified and died. The Julian date is April 3, AD 33. The date of Nisan 6, 3793, or March 24, AD 33 corresponds to the Thursday before my triumphal entry into Jerusalem. Daniel prophesied that I, the Messiah, would die about 500 years before it happened. More than half of a millennium before I came to earth, Daniel predicted the exact year in which I would present myself as Israel's Messiah, and then be cut off. Since God exists outside of the time and restraints of the universe, God alone has the ability to predict the future. There is no better example of God's predictive power than Daniel 9 verses 24 to 27. Understanding the meaning of this prophecy, and its calculation is one of the most phenomenal discoveries that you can make. It proves and demonstrates to you that I am the Lord, the Messiah foretold in the Old Testament. I am the truth, the way, and life. I am who I said I am, the promised Messiah, your Savior. If you want to be saved, watch the video on the YouTube channel, The God Talk, the message of salvation through Jesus Christ. Blessings.